And also... Okay. I'm actually not prepared at all for this section. Not even a little bit. Oh. Never fought for anything in my life, but but for this I feel a spark of defiance. I see. Before you get into this recap, do you have any preferred colors to try out for the sub badges? Moto, you can stick around and you don't have to leave yet. You can keep me honest for this. If we get to a prep section, I will kick you out at that point. But for now you are fine. Let's see. Preferred colors to try for the sub badges. I like the current colors, but we could try. I don't know. Not strongly, I guess. We could make it like. If we wanted to do anything, we could make it like Twitch pink to blend with the other badges that people tend to have, like VIP and First and some of the presents. I don't know. Or like, you know, the green of the sword. What other badges do people have? I'm not super picky about it. Okay, sounds good. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for trying that out. Also, I installed a couple of modules for Foundry that just very well may not live very long. This one down here at the bottom right, this is like called like Dice Tray or something. Something more than that. It's basically... Oh, it is called Dice Tray. Ha! Cool. So, it's just a simple, like, thing to help you roll dice. You can just, like, click on them, and it'll, like, increase or decrease the number of dice. And you can, like, add your bonus. You can hit advantage or disadvantage. Just a visual way to, like, throw some dice rolls out instead of typing it every time. So, there's that. The other thing, like, that'll probably stay. The other thing I added is a 3D roller called Dice So Nice. And that is the one that might not live very long, because as you can see down here, it, like, delays the dice roll until it finishes. Like, if you watch down here as I roll, no result, no result, no result. That's a full, like, 3 seconds, 2-3 seconds of, like, waiting for the result. So my players might riot at that, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how they feel about it tomorrow, and it might just immediately get turned off. But for now, it's there, and it looks nice. So I like the 3D dice, but the delay is a killer. It sure is. It sure is. Oops. Didn't mean to full screen. So I'm thinking that might get annoying faster than it gets cool. You know? Yeah. I will poll the players and see. Because anything that slows combat down is probably... God, blue and red are such ass names to try to read. Oh, alerts. Yeah, we need to do alerts for sure. Blue and red. I'm confused, Moto. I'm a little confused. In what context are those names difficult to read? And is it something I can fix? Twitch chat. I see. Really? Are you on... Actually, I'm on dark mode and I... Huh. It is presently fine for me. But I have seen some names that are just like, what the heck? I can't read that at all. Just not blue and red. I agree. Cam is just the most helpful mod. He's way more helpful than me when I'm in course chat. Way more helpful. So I'm very appreciative. And yeah, I love it. Let's see. The other random Foundry note is that y'all may remember... Great mod hype, indeed. Indeed. Y'all may remember that it took a little doing to get this world map to line up with this grid, because it's got grids on it already. It's got hexes on it, so I knew how to line it up. And the hexes in Foundry did not line up with the hexes in the map. And so I had to do a lot of work to get it close, and then I had to like adjust the map background to be, you know, it was 2800 by 2800, now it's 2805 by 2820. So I had to do a little trial and error to get it to line up there, just to stretch it out to match the hexes. And next update, the creator is fixing the hexes. So I'll have to do some additional work to get it back to the default state, where hopefully it'll line up nicely without a lot of work, but it might just be more work to get everything to line it up again. So I'm looking forward to that, like, next week. And hopefully not tomorrow. It would be really unfortunate if Forge forced me to update that to that, and the hex map wasn't. It'll be fine, regardless. But just wanted to mention that's a growing pain that's going on. Is there Oh, candy cakes, thank you. That is very sweet. And since I'm extremely bad with compliments, I'm just gonna thank you, and I'm gonna Cam. Alright, we're alright, thanks guys. I'm just gonna get... Alright, hold on. So, I need to turn off the music. Okay. Now I'm going to conveniently ignore chat for a while I do the recap portion. While all of this is going on. So, it's been a while, so forgive me if I take a moment to remember things. I have picked up my memory key. Broken key for my keyboard again. I'll fidget with that, and hopefully it will return to me the thoughts that have fled my brain. But last we were together, we were planning... There wasn't a lot to plan. We talked about how the party was returning to Eden. I agree, my community is baller. I have just absolutely stolen some of the best parts of Core's community and just siphoned them to mine. So, and I appreciate everyone for sticking around and hanging out with me and making my stream so awesome, because, yeah, you guys are great. So, party had the head of Salamander. They succeeded in their objective. You may remember that the current kind of deal was that the first person who was able to slay Salamander and bring back his head would become the Emperor of Eden. And the council thought this was a measure to buy time, basically. And then, of course, the party went and made it actually happen with the help of some harpies. So, the last session was all about the party returning to Eden with the head of Salamander and kind of working towards the fallout. We didn't hit all of the fallout yet, but we're getting some stuff ready to blow up, you know? So, the first kind of thing they ran into was just outside of town, like less than a day away. They were ambushed by poor Salamander. Yeah. He was kind of just trying to do the right thing. His heart was sometimes in the right place. Even that fucker bit me. I mean, there is that. There is that. Bit him. Nearly took the lives. We're gonna say that he nearly took the lives of 2 party members. It's a bit of an exaggeration. It's not quite on the level, but we're gonna say that. We're gonna say that. But yeah, so the party, they were ambushed by some familiar to the party, probably not to the audience, sand golems, sand constructs that were being controlled by someone, and they were pretty intent to take out the party there, although I think they underestimated the party's capabilities a little bit. They were pretty easily defeated by the party and their little entourage that they had, as well as between the harpies, well, one harpy and her barbarian friend, and then Eve's brother and like a general and he had an escort that he brought with. They were able to dispatch these constructs pretty easily. These are the same constructs, stats and all, kind of, as the ones that attacked them in the first, like the very first session before we were even streaming the game. So these are technically an old enemy, although they haven't popped up. They haven't popped up as often as they could. They're tied into the storyline of the one player who left. So they haven't been super present, but they made a return, trying to waylay the party. And yeah, the only key thing they noticed about them was that occasionally one of them would be possessed and act in a way that was like different from all the others. He had like these brown eyes, whereas the other ones would have just kind of outlines where the eyes were. And this would like swap around if they felled the construct that had those eyes, then like next round another construct would be possessed. So it seemed like someone in particular was controlling them and trying to enhance their chances of defeating the party, but ultimately they failed. The party was able to arrive at Eden late that night. And then from there, sounded like that part of the session was short, but since we were getting used to Foundry, and since I was getting used to running combat in Foundry, it took a little while. It took a little while to get through that combat. There were a lot of enemies, and yeah, bit more of a filler than I intended it to be in terms of time. Puppet Master enemies are the worst. Yeah, it's a little hard to figure out who's behind it all, as my brother's character Sonus found later on. So yes, they arrived back in Eden and they kind of went their separate ways to go make preparations for turning in this quest item. They just throw out all these nonsense enemies at you until eventually you find them, if you find them at all. Yeah, he's definitely a bit sneaky, a bit hard to identify. And that segment of returning to town, you've lost connection to the server. Have I? Have I lost connection? Is it possible that my issues were Comcast related after all? Probably not, but it's not going to stop me from blaming them. Anyway, so party split up. Eve went to kind of have dinner with her father, who is a member of the council, and the others went. Ludwig went to try to throw them off the party's trail. He went and he checked into one inn, climbed out the window, put on a mask of a different person, took a potion to go incognito as just a small blonde German boy, walked over to another inn, checked in there, and then Solus was just like, let's go sleep at my house. If you're worried, let's go sleep at my house. And Ludwig was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So then the rest of the party kind of regrouped there. There were a couple of small tasks aside from that. Solus went to check up on his Baba Yaga. Just a friendly old lady elf. That's all she is. And Sonus went to try to gather some information, went to talk to an information broker who kind of was bad at his job. I don't even remember what info he got. He heard that an adventuring group had returned with Salamander's head. Nothing? Yeah, nothing, basically, is the answer of what Sonus got from his investigation. The more interesting thing that happened, I guess, was... Moto, I might need help remembering the conversation with Ben Griff as well. But more interesting thing that happened was the conversation between Eve and her brother Seth and their father. So they had a pleasant dinner. Eve went about bragging about the salamanders slaying, as she does, and then asked some fairly leading questions about who he would give the head to. If it were him, just asking what appeared to be advice. And he was like, not me, and no one from the council, was kind of his response, in short. And then she turned to her brother, asked him what he would do, and he was like, no one. Someone in the conversation was like, I would just lose the head. I would lose it, and we would just not have an emperor. And they were both kind of down with that. And Seth was like, there's kind of a nice innkeeper near the middle of town. She'd probably do an okay job. She'd be kind at least. And that was kind of where that conversation went. And then Eve rather suddenly dropped the, like, I think the council killed the previous emperor bomb. I don't remember the exact context. This is the problem when it's been 2 weeks. It's the problem when it's been 2 weeks since the session. I don't remember the exact words or the exact context, but he was in the middle of saying something. Probably defending the council. Oh, it was that Eve was like, you would let these corrupt scumbags rule, like continue to rule, and he started to say like something about the devil you know is better than the one you don't. And then she was like, the same council who killed the emperor and covered it up. And he stopped and like looked at the window. He seemed to be pretty concerned. One, he was floored by this accusation. Two, he was pretty concerned that potentially someone was listening in, and he like looked at the window and looked at her and said, like, in kind of a hushed tone, like asked if she had any proof, and she kind of doesn't really. So she said no, but accusations were flung, and it basically just came down to the implication of like, you, father, if you helped kill the emperor, like, you're gonna be dead. We're gonna, since like once one of us become the emperor, we're gonna flush out the people responsible. And so that's kind of where we left that. We left that conversation on that heavy note as Eve was leaving, and her father was looking a little hurt. And then we kind of from there, Solus, Moto, correct me if I'm wrong, but mostly the rest of it was just talking about like the future and what the campaign was going to look like, right? There's not like a story beat I'm missing there. Yeah, it was a lot of bickering. It was a lot of bickering, which to me is great. If I can put the party in a situation where they're asking each other more questions than they're asking me, I feel pretty good. I don't do that. I haven't done that very often this campaign, but that was one of those moments. So that was fun to listen in to everyone's thoughts and like, you know, how they viewed the situation. Without going into those specifics, it was mostly decided that Solus made the most sense to become emperor. If anyone was going to do it, they were going to give it to Solus. And Solus asked Ludwig, basically, like, if I'm going to do this, you know, you've seen the darkness in me, Ludwig, and you've seen the light in others. I would like you to be my advisor and help guide me and make sure my hand is not too heavy, essentially. And Ludwig was like, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, you only see my darkness? Is that what you said? That's kind of funny, actually. That's a funny way to put it. Yeah, so Ludwig agreed to that. I was like, yeah, I think I could do a lot of good there. He literally only sees how I'm a villain. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's exactly true. I think he points it out quicker, but I don't think that's the only thing he sees. But I also have a habit of softening literally everyone in my description, so you could be correct. So that was how that shook out. Eve had some considerations, I guess. Some hesitations about letting Solus be emperor, but I think that's the note it ended on. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of I love him, but Solthariel has feelings, true. There's a lot of back and forth, but ultimately we arrived at, it makes sense, the most sense, for Solus to be emperor. We don't think Eve would do a good job, and we don't think Sonus wants it, really. And then, yeah. And then we started more, there was kind of a side tangent where Sonus, my brother's character, trying to remember, basically going down the list and was like, who has brown eyes? Who could possibly be controlling the constructs? Who has the brown eyes? And it didn't really lead anywhere, but that was the thing. And then, you know, like I said, the party started talking about the future and like which direction the campaign could go, because we're potentially losing two characters. we thought maybe next session, but I don't think that's true. I think I have some problems to put in front of the party in their immediate form before they split up and call it good on this arc. There's a lot of unresolved stuff around the council, and there's just a lot around the council. That's really all there is to it. Like, Solus is going to have this corrupt council as his like guiding body, as his like sub ruling body, the group below him, and potentially with the power to like veto him, right? And currently they have a lot of power in the city, so there's that, like, potential to deal with stuff there. Sonus has beef with one council member in particular, the member of the kind of adventuring guild. His name is Calvin Atant, head of the Green Stags. He's on the council, and so there's like beef there that could be resolved. And Eve has beef with the entire council because she thinks that literally all of them had something to do with killing the Emperor, who she had a... I don't know if I've said it out loud on stream in prep and recaps, but Eve had a romantic relationship with the previous Emperor. So, very personal stakes. Yeah, a lot of content to do. I agree. I think there's a lot to do in Eden, and there was some back and forth about whether that was true, but I think I can make that obvious next session. I think that's probably my job next session. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what next session is going to look like. There's a lot. It's going to be... Oh no, they killed her lover? Yeah, they're gonna get dead. One's already dead, but not the way Eve wanted. He was pushed out of a clock tower. By not Eve. Probably, yeah. Well, I won't speculate. Because that seems like a cheap thing for me to do. But, so yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I think we're going to stick around in Eden for a while. We're going to try to resolve some of that, or at least move it to a new state. It's been there all game, and we haven't really dealt with any of it. So we're going to try to push some of that forward. And yeah. As for stuff that went well this session, I really liked... I felt, I feel like my practice role-playing stuff on the fly, playing up, like, Eve's father's emotions and stuff. Like, I think that was pretty good, and I think the role-playing of Ben Griff, they came home and he was drunk, and they had some back and forths about what he'd learned, which was not much, especially that he could share while drunk. But I felt like I was doing pretty well that session, as opposed to trying to play Ramona after her god died. That felt like flat for me. But all the stuff last session felt really good. And again, I felt like I was able to put the party in an interesting place, at least. I liked seeing them. It was very enjoyable for me to see them bicker, and hopefully that was enjoyable for them as well. I feel like that's an important part of this hobby, is the parts where you're discussing what to do next when it's not obvious what the best way forward is, right? I feel bad for Eve's dad. Me too. She bully. She big bully. Maybe he deserves it a little bit, but she big bully. And I think I don't know how much of this is my job exactly, but the combat at the start could have gone faster, even though we were learning a new system, like a new virtual tabletop. Or I could have timed it better, so we weren't like learning a new tabletop for combat while we're going into such a dramatic session. We didn't have as much Eden time as I wanted. So that's okay. Yeah, the combat was also just long. I didn't expect it to be that long. There were a lot of enemies, but I don't know, it was just long. They were all level 1 enemies. Like, those were not strong enemies. It just took a while. Stat-wise, actually the same enemies as the first set of dolls. Just a lot more. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's about it. No, major lessons learned. Just kind of wish I could have made that combat go faster without hand-waving it too much. I think it was important to have in there in general. I just could have sped it up somehow. So, yeah. I'm really excited to go forward. I probably have to figure out ways to make the players roll some dice for the next little bit, even if they're going to be roleplay heavy sessions. I know that, last session was a huge like narrative boost. I agree. A couple of the players enjoy their sessions a lot better when they are rolling more dice. So I need to figure out ways to include some of that. So much intrigue and stuff going on. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that resolve and expand. Yeah, there's a lot of little threads that could be picked up and tugged on, which is part of what makes my job right now so hard. Because we're gonna switch into prep mode. Like, what am I gonna prep exactly? Like, I can't have specific encounters in mind. I do have some stuff that I'm gonna prepare, but like stuff that'll definitely happen, assuming they like turn in the head, Solus becomes the Emperor. Like, there are beats that I know will happen, and I can get ready for those. Some of which might not happen on stream because it's going to be big story stuff, and not, we'll see. I'll figure out on stream if I want to do it on stream. But like, I can't really just set up a combat encounter that I know is going to happen. Sounds good, Moto. I will catch you later. Good timing to step out. Yeah. I'm going to take a break in a moment, and then we'll swap it over. Let's see. So basically, the key is I'm going to need to set up potential challenges that the party might run into, and I need to be somewhat ready for it. So that'll be kind of the big thing, without setting up specific combats that will happen. So I'm going to try to push back a little bit on the impulse to just do it all on the fly. I should have some of it prepared so I generally know what's going on. So now that I've rambled about that singular point for about 5 minutes, I'm going to go briefly on break.